Chapter 5 Season 4 is wrapped up, and this season has been a very interesting one to say the least. So today we take a look at Season 4 as a whole and determine if the season was good or if the season was a disappointment. So in order to do this, we're going to break the video into 3 portions: the good, the mid, and the bad. So let's start off with the good. For starters, I think that this season introduced some of the best weapons to the loot pool. The Striker Burst absolutely shreds, and it's personally one of my favorites, not only in the chapter, but in the entire game. The dual micro SMGs are also up there as one of my favorites from the season and the chapter as a whole. In a hot take, I think the Sovereign Shotgun is extremely underrated, and it's one of the best shotguns of Chapter 5. I see a lot of people complaining about the fire rate of the weapon, and yes, it is slow when you ADS, but with most shotguns you're supposed to hip fire, and the fire rate on this shotgun when you hip fire is insane. The only thing that would make the loot pool better in my opinion is if Fortnite kept the Thunderburst SMG in the game, and they also invaulted the Reaper Sniper. My next addition to the good is the Battle Pass for the season. This Battle Pass had a lot of potential, and even though I could do without Captain Jones and Pilverine, I still think this pass is pretty solid. Gwenpool was an amazing tier 1 skin, and War Machine was a welcome surprise. Mysterio and Dr. Doom are probably my 2 favorites of the past though, as Epic did such a great job with Mysterio, and they managed to make Doom even cooler the second time around. The next positive are the additions to the map. Now I've stated before in other videos that I think that Chapter 5 does have some good locations, but it's probably my least favorite map out of every chapter. And Season 4 certainly didn't change my opinion on the map overall, but Season 4 certainly had the best map changes of the chapter. Doom's Courtyard is where I land the least, but I still think it's a good replacement for Classy Courts. Doomstat is another great POI, and it really felt like a point of interest that we would have seen in Chapter 2. And of course we have Castle Doom, which ticks every box of things that you want in a point of interest, and it honestly might be a top 10 point of interest if I'm being honest. And my last positive for the season are the updates. And starting with the LTM, although I think it was a little disappointing, I think it was still fun overall. And while we're talking about LTMs, it's a massive shame that Epic Games didn't bring back Marvel Knockout. This LTM was a fan favorite, and I know a lot of players would have loved to seen the LTM make a return. But with LTMs aside, I think the mini live event with Dr. Doom was a great step in the direction of bringing back live events to their previous form. And finally, we have Fortnitemares. Epic heard all of our complaints about the past few seasonal events, and they delivered one of, if not the best, Fortnitemares events of all time. So now that we've got the good category out of the way, let's dive into the mid. And first up, I have the Marvel Powers. Now I might get some pushback on this, but I just ask that you hear me out. The Marvel Powers the first time around in Chapter 2 truly felt like you were using superpowers from the Marvel Universe, but here in Chapter 5, most of the Marvel powers feel like generic items rather than superpowers. Another reason I put the powers here in the mid category, I think the season really could have benefited from bringing back a lot of the old Marvel powers like the Spider-Man web shooters and countless items from Chapter 2 Season 4. And now let's dive into the bad. First up, we have the nerfs. Now similar to Chapter 5 Season 3, Chapter 5 Season 4 wasn't safe from nerfs. Now before I get any angry comments, I know some items need to be nerfed for the benefit of the game. Cap Shield on day 1 was way too OP. I mean, you could bounce that item off multiple players and it practically had aimbot. The repulsors also needed a nerf as their headshot damage was insane and the fire rate was pretty bad too. However, the most pointless nerf of the season was 100% the jetpack. In my opinion, the jetpack is one Marvel item that was always worth picking up. It negated fall damage, was great for traversal, and you could also hover in the air rather than having to boost in order to maintain your height, like every other Fortnite jetpack we've seen. It was also super fun to get in fights with these, especially up close with shotguns. But of course, throughout the season, Epic Games made these items less useful. First, they nerfed the spawn rate and the general fuel consumption of the item. And not to mention, after they nerfed the item into the ground, they completely vaulted the item. And even after all the nerfs, you could still argue that the item was a must-have, so it was still a massive letdown to see Epic Games once again get rid of a cornerstone item towards the end of the season. And next up in the bad category, we have skins. Now I brought this up last because I know it's a factor that a lot of players wouldn't consider when ranking a season, but for a Marvel season, I think it's a bit different. It started off with a battle pass where we only received 3 characters that were either not another version of a character that's already in the game, or some sort of reskin. Pilverine was a combo of Pilly and Wolverine. Doom was a new version of Dr. Doom. Captain Jones was our 3rd version of Captain America. Shuri is another Black Panther, and War Machine is very similar to Iron Man. Now none of these are bad characters or bad skins, but the issue is I feel like Epic Games were relying too much on characters that we've already seen from Marvel, rather than adding any of the skins that fans are asking for, like the Fantastic Four or Ultron. This also carried over to the item shop as well, and this may be a hot take, but I think Black Cat and Iron Spider were the only good Marvel skins that dropped in the item shop during Season 4. As for the rest, we have another Venom skin, another Iron Man skin, a meme skin of Ghost Rider, a meme skin for Sabretooth, another meme skin of Fish Stick, and Mephisto, who is original, but he's pretty mid. And all of this comes after Epic Games have teased us throughout the season with Doom's trophies, like Ultron's head, or every single member of the Fantastic Four. And on top of the skins that were teased, there's so many more Marvel characters that would be brand new additions to the Fortnite universe, and I'm sure all of them would have sold very well in the item shop. But overall, I still think the season was pretty solid. I loved the map changes, I really liked the battle pass, I loved all the new weapons, and I enjoyed some of the Marvel items in the loot pool. The season is certainly nowhere near Nexus War, and I don't think it's the best season of Chapter 5. But with all that said, I'd rate Absolute Doom an 8.5 out of 10. So be sure you let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. But until next time, as always, take care and stay twisty.